The boardroom smelled of polished mahogany and betrayal. I sat at the head of the table, my fingers drumming a silent rhythm on the armrest, when the door slammed open. Isabel, my sister, stormed in, her heels clicking like gunfire. Behind her, Victoria, the CEO, strutted with her usual air of untouchable arrogance, and Declan, my best friend since college, trailed with a face I couldn't read. The entire executive team followed, their eyes darting between me and the trio like spectators at a gladiator match. "Elias Kane," Victoria began, her voice slicing through the room. "You're done." I froze. The air thickened, every gaze pinning me to my chair. Done? Me? The CTO who'd built quantum dynamics from a garage startup to a cybersecurity empire? The man who'd coded our AI-driven firewalls, secured billion-dollar contracts, and made our competitors sweat? I leaned back, forcing a calm I didn't feel. "Care to explain?" Isabel stepped forward, her lips curling into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Corporate espionage, Elias. You've been leaking client data to our rivals." She tossed a stack of papers onto the table. "Forged reports, I'd bet my life on it." "We have proof!" The room gasped. Whispers erupted. I scanned the faces. Shock, pity, glee. Declan wouldn't meet my eyes, his hands stuffed in his pockets. Victoria folded her arms, smirking like she'd already won. Isabello. She was the knife in my back. My own sister, who I'd hired, mentored, trusted. The one I'd given everything. "Proof," I said, my voice low, dangerous. "Show me." Claire, the HR director and Isabel's college buddy, slid a termination letter across the table with a crocodile tear frown. "It's all here, Elias. Screenshots, emails, timestamps. You sold us out." I didn't touch the letter. Instead, I locked eyes with Isabel. "You're making a mistake." Her laugh was sharp, cutting. "The only mistake was trusting you. You're finished." Victoria clapped her hands, signaling security. 2 guards appeared, their faces blank but their intent clear. "Your badge, Mr. Kane," one said. I stood, unclipping the badge that had been my second skin for a decade. The room watched as I dropped it onto the table with a deliberate clink. Isabel snatched it up, holding it like a trophy. "You thought you were untouchable," she said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "But you're nothing without us." Declan finally spoke, his voice strained. "You brought this on yourself, man." I wanted to lunge across the table, to shake him until he admitted the truth. Instead, I let a smirk tug at my lips. They had no idea, none of them, not about Apex Ventures, my shell company, not about the 82% of quantum dynamics I'd quietly amassed over 10 years, not about the storm I was about to unleash. "Enjoy your victory," I said, my eyes flicking from Isabel to Victoria to Declan. "You've just burned your own empire." The guards escorted me out. The hallways of Quantum Seattle headquarters, once my kingdom, now buzzed with whispers. "He's finished," someone muttered. "Traitor," another hissed. I kept my head high, my smirk intact, even as humiliation clawed at my chest. They thought they'd broken me. They thought wrong. 10 years ago, I was a broke coder living on instant noodles in a one-room apartment. The world didn't know my name, but it would. I built Apex Ventures from nothing, coding AI-driven cybersecurity tools that outsmarted hackers and governments alike. While quantum dynamics grew under Victoria's flashy leadership, I used Apex to buy its shares, piece by piece, in the shadows. By last month, I owned 82%. 2 weeks ago, I'd finalized the paperwork. They could fire me, mock me, drag my name through the mud, but they couldn't take what was mine. Isabel's betrayal stung the worst. I'd brought her into quantum, given her a VP role despite her inexperience. She repaid me by cozying up to Victoria's elite circle, sidelining me in meetings, stealing credit for my projects. I'd ignored the signs, chalked it up to ambition. But this fabricating a data breach, accusing me of treason. That was war. The gala 3 days later was their victory lap. I watched it unfold through a hacked office camera, my laptop glowing in the dim light of my temporary apartment. Isabel, in a $10,000 zero-cents dress, raised a champagne flute, her laughter echoing as she toasted with Declan. "To new beginnings," she said, "and to burying the past." The past. Me. My blood boiled. I gripped the edge of my desk, my knuckles white. They thought they'd erased me. They thought I was gone. But I was just getting started. That night, I nearly died. I was driving home on a Seattle freeway, the city's skyline glittering in the distance, when my brakes failed. The pedal went soft, useless. My car swerved, tires screaming as I wrestled it onto the shoulder. A semi roared past, missing me by inches. My heart pounded, adrenaline flooding my veins. Sabotage. It had to be. Someone wanted me dead. I didn't sleep. Instead, I dug into quantum systems, using back doors I'd built years ago. The gala footage confirmed my suspicions. Isabel's smug toast, Declan's nervous glances, Victoria's absence. She was probably plotting her next move. I scheduled an emergency board meeting for the next morning. It was time to end this. The boardroom was packed when I arrived, the same one where they'd ambushed me. Isabel sat at the head, Victoria to her right, Declan fidgeting nearby. The board members, a mix of old money investors and tech moguls, watched me with guarded curiosity. My lawyer, a grizzled veteran named Hargrove, stood beside me, clutching a briefcase. "Lias," Victoria said, her tone dripping with disdain. "This is a private meeting. Leave." I didn't move. "Hargrove, show them." He opened a briefcase, pulling out documents that detailed Apex Ventures' ownership of quantum dynamics. "Mr. Kane, through Apex, controls 82% of the company," Hargrove said, his voice steady. "He is, effectively, your majority shareholder." The room went silent. Isabel's jaw dropped, her champagne glow replaced by pale shock. Declan choked on his coffee, coughing violently. Victoria's eyes narrowed, her fingers digging into the table. "You fired your boss, Isabel," I said, my voice cold, deliberate. "Now, I'm your reckoning." The fallout was immediate. I presented a dossier, months of evidence I'd collected in secret. Isabel's doctored reports, falsifying my espionage. Declan's backroom deals with competitors, skimming profits. Victoria's embezzlement funneling millions into offshore accounts. The board was stunned, their loyalty to the trio evaporating. I fired all three on the spot, handing them severance letters with a smile. Isabel's face twisted with rage. "You'll bleed for this, Elias," she hissed, storming out. I thought that was the end. I was wrong. A tabloid leaked my firing the next day, painting me as a disgraced executive. "Quantum CTO ousted in scandal," the headline screamed. My phone buzzed with notifications, reporters, former colleagues, investors. My reputation, my life's work, teetered on the edge. Then came the email, anonymous and cryptic. "Your empire was built on stolen code. We know the truth." I stared at the screen, my pulse racing. Stolen code? Impossible. I'd written every line of Apex's tech myself, sleepless nights blurring into years. But the accusation gnawed at me, a seed of doubt. Who was R? What did they know? The dangers escalated. My office was ransacked, my encrypted servers hacked. A note left behind read, "You're not untouchable." Isabel launched a smear campaign, accusing me of insider trading on social media. Investors panicked, threatening to dump quantum stock. I countered by unveiling a revolutionary AI defense system, a project I'd kept secret even from my team. The stock soared, but the threats. I was followed by a black SUV, its windows tinted, its presence constant. One night a thug cornered me in a parking garage, his breath reeking of cigarettes. "Drop the company," he growled, "or you're done." I traced the office break-in to Declan, who'd used an old CTO keycard to access quantum systems. Isabel's new startup, built on stolen quantum data, collapsed when investors uncovered her fraud. Declan, desperate, begged rival firms for jobs, but my influence in the industry blacklisted him. Victoria, with her political ties, lobbied regulators to investigate quantum for fraud, a last-ditch effort to bury me. Then I found it. A hidden file on the hacked server, buried deep in the code. Project Phantom, it read, tied to my early days at Apex. A project I'd long forgotten, or thought I had. My stomach churned. What had I buried? What truth was our chasing? The SEC's probe hit like a sledgehammer. Victoria's political cronies had pulled strings, and now federal agents were sniffing around quantum dynamics, demanding records, interrogating staff, and dragging my name through the mud again. I didn't flinch. I'd faced worse. The annual shareholder meeting was 2 days away, and I'd prepared a presentation that would bury the doubters, but I knew better than to trust silence. The meeting hall buzzed with restless energy, shareholders packed shoulder to shoulder, their eyes flicking between me and the giant screen behind. I stood at the podium, my voice steady as I unveiled Quantum's triumphs: 47% revenue growth, a Pentagon deal, and a new AI firewall that made hackers obsolete. The crowd leaned forward, murmurs of approval rippling through. I was winning them over, and the doors crashed open. Isabel, my sister, her face a mask of venom, stormed in, clutching a file like it was a grenade. "Elias Kane is a fraud!" she screamed, her voice cutting through the room. Heads turned, gasps echoed. "He stole quantum with fake shell companies. Apex Ventures is a lie!" She waved the file, pages spilling dramatically, and the crowd erupted in whispers. Doubt spread like wildfire. I gripped the podium, my pulse hammering. She'd planned this, timed it to gut me in public. I scanned the room. Some shareholders looked ready to lynch me, others just confused. Then I noticed my coffee cup, untouched, sitting on the table beside me. A faint sediment swirled at the bottom. Poison. My stomach twisted. Someone had tried to kill me right here in front of everyone. "Isabel," I said, my voice ice cold, "you're embarrassing yourself." I nodded to Hargrove, my lawyer, who stood ready in the wings. He stepped forward, a tablet in hand, and tapped the screen. Isabel's voice filled the hall, tinny but unmistakable from a recorded call. "Fake the papers. By the time he fights it, he's ruined." The crowd went silent, then roared. Isabel froze, her eyes wide, the file slipping from her hands. "I trusted you," I said, stepping toward her, my voice low but carrying to every corner. "And you sold your soul for this?" Security appeared, grabbing her arms. She thrashed, screaming obscenities, but the shareholders were done. They applauded as she was dragged out, her lies crumbling. My reputation, battered but intact, rose from the ashes. But as I turned back to the podium, a board member leaned close, his whisper chilling. "Who funded Apex Ventures originally? It wasn't just you." That night, quantum stock tanked. A coordinated short sell attack, orchestrated by Victoria's allies, wiped out 30% of our value in hours. My phone lit up with panicked calls from investors. But I was distracted. A letter had arrived at my apartment, sealed with silver wax, the handwriting sharp. "Apex isn't yours alone. Meet me. Me. R." My blood ran cold. R. The shadow from before. I knew who it was before I opened the envelope. Ronan Holt, my ex-partner, presumed dead in a 2009 yacht explosion. We'd built Apex together, two broke coders with big dreams, until he vanished, leaving me to carry the torch. Now he was back, in Seattle, demanding a midnight meeting at an abandoned warehouse by the docks. I went, not because I trusted him, but because I needed answers. The warehouse reeked of rust and oil. Ronan stood under a flickering bulb, older but unmistakable. Same sharp jaw, same predator's eyes. His hired muscle flanked me, their guns glinting. "You stole Apex," he said, tossing a flash drive at my feet. "I funded 50% with offshore accounts. It's mine." I laughed, bitter. "You're a dead man with no claim." I picked up the drive, my fingers tightening around it. "You left. I built this." He smirked, leaning closer. There was a third partner, Elias. They never left the game. My mind raced. A third partner? Impossible. But doubt crept in, a crack in my armor. The standoff broke when my lawyers burst in, Hargrove at the lead, wielding documents like weapons. "Ronan's accounts were bought by Mr. Kane in 2010, Hargrove said, his voice cutting through the tension. "His claims are forged." Ronan's face twisted with rage. "I built you, Elias," he roared as security hauled him away, his screams echoing into the night. I stood there, the flash drive burning in my hand, Ronan's words gnawing at me. "A third partner. Who?" The board turned next. A faction, bribed by Ronan's promises, demanded I step down, citing instability. I crushed their revolt with proof of Ronan's fraud and a surprise reveal. I'd bought his offshore accounts years ago, nullifying any claim. The board backed down, but the damage was done. Quantum was bleeding, stock plummeting, SEC hounding, and now this third partner mystery. I fought back. I neutralized the short sell attack with a strategic buyback, pumping Quantum stock to new highs. The SEC probe collapsed when I leaked Victoria's bribes to a hungry journalist, her political allies scattering. Isabel fled Seattle, her name blacklisted, her dreams dust. Declan, broken homeless, cornered me outside Quantum's office, begging for mercy. I looked into his hollow eyes, once my friends, and walked away. Victoria faced federal charges, her empire shattered in handcuffs. But victory felt hollow. A final email arrived, anonymous, chilling. "Project Phantom is active. You're the target." I froze. The name from the hacked server resurfacing. Project Phantom. My past, my secrets, my ghosts. I hung a plaque in my office, the words etched in steel. They fired me, but I owned their world. When the ghost returned, I burned his shadow. I whispered, "This is my empire," the Seattle skyline glowing beyond my penthouse window. Then I saw it. A shadow on a rooftop across the street, holding a file labeled Phantom. My phone pinged, a new email. "You won the battle, but the war's just begun." P. I gripped the desk, my empire solid but trembling. The fight wasn't over, it was only beginning.